Hello creative souls, it's Casey. Welcome back. Today we are going to go through the completed Pocky art journal. Yay, it's all done. This took probably 5 or 6 months to complete. And it's called the Pocky art journal because the cover is made from a box of Pocky cookies. My daughter loves these cookies. She gets them all the time. I thought the box was a really cute size and shape, and so I cut it apart and created the cover. I did some collaging and some stamping and some painting on here. If I was going to do it again, I would put extra paper or washi tape or something over the corners because my corners are starting to come apart a little bit. I did put some glue on there, so it's hopefully going to stay together, but you can see the yellow from the box. So if you decide to make your own Pocky art journal, I highly suggest reinforcing the corners. So I have my little tie here to hold it together because this thing is humongous. I filled this journal with all kinds of junk papers, catalog pages and flyers and maps and printouts and just whatever I could find lying around. I made all my signatures and I put them in. The inside cover is metallic paint. This is a jacquard acrylic paint. It's actually meant for fabrics, and I've used it on fabrics before, but it works really well on paper too. So let's go through the journal. I started this journal doing a lot of mark making and just repeated shapes, really simple things. None of these were planned in particular. This one's got a little pocket and a little tag in it. I thought that was really cute. This is brown paper. This part is brown paper, just from packaging in an Amazon box. And I have a little tag up here because this page is shorter than the rest of them, and I don't have all the pages the same. They're the same this way, but not all the same this way. Just to add some interest. This is a piece of scrapbook paper, and after I painted over the top, you can still see the pattern through here, which I really liked. And then I did all the little dots in a contrasting color, and you can see the little dots on the paper. So I decided to bring those out just for fun. These spreads I didn't really plan out in advance. I just kind of went along. I started just by making some marks and then seeing where I felt like going with it. This one was a holy nightmare. I think I redid this spread like 4 or 5 times before I finally got it to a place where I liked it. And that's why it says don't give up. It didn't originally say don't give up. I honestly can't remember what it said originally, but I had to put big letters over it to cover it up. It was a challenge doing this one, but it turned out pretty good. This one was the first time I worked with tissue paper. I've got some Christmas tissue paper in the back. It says fa la 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 la. And I think there's another piece in here with little metallic dots on it. And I like the effect of that. It made a really good background. This is a playing card. I covered with paper. And let's see, I don't know if no, this isn't painted. This on the very background here is a piece of tissue paper, I want to say, that I did with a jelly plate. And then this part in the middle was a piece of scrap paper. And then I put a piece of tissue paper over the top and then drew these little leafy shapes. So it's a lot of layers on here. This is also jelly plate paper here. And then this is a velvety kind of scrap paper. In the background is a map, and I just did this kind of, I don't know, whatever pattern in the back. It's kind of simple when you first look at it, but there's a lot of complex layers in there. This one's called Ambivalence because I couldn't decide if I loved it or hated it. Well, there are parts of it I love, parts of it I hate. I like the flowers and how the flowers turned out and the birds. I was going for kind of a paint splatter thing in the background, and I really don't like how that turned out. I don't like how flat the colors are in the background, so I got a love-hate relationship going on with this one. So that's why that's called Ambivalence. This one I wanted to do something a little more realistic and a little fun. And we were getting close to springtime. This background was a stamp. It was a brand new stamp I was trying out. This one I called 2 steps forward, 1 step back because I had all of these, you know, really simple spreads back here. And then this one kind of was, you know, a little bit of a, not a mess per se, but a little more cluttered than what I had been doing. And I kind of wanted to keep things simple. Honestly, looking at it now, I like it a lot better than I liked it when I completed it. But I thought, you know, I thought the background was just chaotic, but honestly, I like it now. These little birds I got from a friend, they're little felt birds, and they got these little wire feet, and I don't know if you're supposed to stick them in something or what, but I thought that was cute. This is a lot of just collage. I did draw, I did the lettering, and then I drew the Buddha. And this is tissue paper. I like using tissue paper because you can still see the background through it, but it's, you know, it gives you enough of a blank slate to draw on so you can see what the subject is. This is, oh, there's collaging in the back here. And these butterflies are a piece of scrapbook paper. I'm not sure what this paper is in the background. It looks like it was some kind of spreadsheet. But I did this pattern around the edge in a metallic ink, and I really like how that turned out. This one, I think, was my first spread video that I did. It's got the little tag in here, and that's a sticker on the back. And then this is just made out of wax paper, this little pocket. So I really like the texture. This is a piece of scrap paper I had, and it's textured. And when I put the paint over the top with a dry brush, it really brought the texture out, and I like that a lot. And I like this in the background too, this silver. That was a fun one. This one I also did a spread on scrapbook paper in the background, and this pattern was the inspiration for this silver that I drew back here. So this is my dragonfly. It's got the glittery wings. And this rose was a stamp. This was a book page. This one I actually like how it turned out. Again, I really had not planned any of these so far, and some of them turned out great, and some of them were okay. I did like this one a lot. This I used bubble wrap, and then I just kind of copied some of the dot pattern. The flowers I cut out of a catalog, and then all the purple is stamping. I did draw the leaves, and I really like how that turned out with the pattern in there. So yeah, I like that one a lot. This one was interesting. I started with the background and then I did the crisscrosses. And I wasn't sure where I was going to go next with it, but I had this paper, you know, again, this is that velvety paper, and I just cut the flower pattern out of it. And then I did some kind of leafy shapes in there. And all of these spreads have a color card. I use the Color Cube by Sarah Renee Clark, and they come with these cards that have color palettes on them. So each one of these spreads has a different color card on them, and I will link in the description where you can find the color cards. They're really neat. It's a good source of inspiration. So some of these color palettes are better than others. This one is not my favorite, but it still turned out pretty good. I started with these leaf shapes. I kind of wanted a couple of borders, and then I just put stamps and I cut out a couple of leaves. This was when it was still cold, but it should have been spring. So that was the theme for this one. It's not really spring colors per se, but it was close enough. This one I was inspired by this piece of scrap paper. I really like the glitter in it, and it happened to match the color palette close enough anyway, so I think I drew these. I'm not sure if I drew them or if I traced over. There's no glitter on them, so I'm assuming I drew them. And this does have some collage in the back with some, it looks like brown paper. Yeah, this one's not my favorite, but it turned out all right. This one I did a video on, and it turned out super cute. I really like how the spring turned out, and it was a complete accident because I started the letters and then I realized I was going to run out of room. So I just kind of stuck them in anywhere, and it turned out super cute. This music paper is actually tissue paper that I had. This green is tissue paper. And then this piece is a scrapbook paper, and it kind of draws the colors to each side, so I like that one quite a bit. This one I really love. This is a playing card, and I put a lace edge on it, and I've got a texture on here. It's a piece of mesh bag from an onion set of onions. Here, this is what it looks like. After I used all the onions, I just cut the bag apart, and then I glued it on here. This stork I drew and cut out, and the flowers too. This is bubble wrap and metallic ink. The other side, this is from a book that I have, and I colored over it because this was all in black and white. So I colored over that and I stuck it on here. And then this is just ribbon to hold it in. And it's really cute. I drew all these flowers on here and some little gold dots to match the gold here. I like that one quite a bit. This one I really like too. I'm really kind of into the whole Atomic 60s vibe. And I have some artwork with these, 60s cats on there. So I thought they would be cute to put in a spread. And I've got these little stickers, these little gem stickers. So those are super cute. This one I have a video on. And again, here's that onion bag with the mesh. And the flowers are drawn by hand. And these are just from a gardening catalog. that was kind of a fun one. This came from a piece of scrapbook paper, and I really like the silver pattern in there, so I cut the flowers out here and here. This is also scrapbook paper in the back, and then I did this, you know, the marks over the top, and I hand lettered that. This one was kind of a weird color palette to work with. It was a really dark color palette, and I had to kind of work to make the spread not be really dark, but it turned out good. This one I love. It's super cute. It's just, you know, night sky and balloons. I don't know, it's simple, but I absolutely love it. This one, I had to kind of put silver on this side because, you know, I didn't want to detract from this spread, and the silver actually works really well. And it happened to be in the color palette for this spread, so that was pretty good. I love how the trunk of the tree turned out. And this was just, you know, a bunch of circles that I did, and I thought it turned out really cute. I've got the little bee there. This was just fun. It was a big experiment in abstract trees, and I think it turned out good. This one I think I did a video on. I'm pretty sure I did. I can't even remember. But it's basically just a repetition of these leaf shapes that had already been stamped on this paper. I just use that as my inspiration. And then you can see through here, this was a catalog page. There was a dark bar here with some words on it. And to cover that up, I just put dots over the top. And then I've repeated the dots here. This one is cute. It's got those silver flowers in it. And then I had another scrapbook page that had a silver butterfly. And it's got moon and stars. And so it's kind of a nighttime theme. So I thought it was like a dream, so I put dreamy. This one is cool. I did the background with gelatos, which, if you don't know what gelatos are, there's watercolor sticks, watercolor crayons. And so I did gelatos, and then I did a stencil, and I pulled up some of that color so you can see the stencil pattern. And then over the top of that, I put a piece of transparency that I had stamped on. This is a wood stamp. This is what it looks like. So I stamped on the other side, and I glued just the edges. And then I copied the daisy pattern by hand over on this side. And we have Lazy Daisy. This one's also a video. I was inspired by this peacock, and I wanted to do a sunset, but I wanted to do like an abstract sunset, and so I did peacock feathers for the sunset, and I think it's pretty neat. The color palette was kind of limited, but it turned out good. This one is super cute. I wanted to do something a little folksy. This has a tag in it because it's fun. And this pocket is just a little piece of scrapbook paper, not scrapbook paper, scrap paper that I got from, they come in a pack. It's called Scrap Pack. You get it at Walmart. It's got all kinds of different papers in it, and this actually is very textured. It's kind of almost a rubbery kind of texture. And I thought that was pretty cool. So this one was fun. Now we're finally getting into warmer days and summer. So I did like a boba kind of thing. I wasn't really sure what I was doing with this one when I started, but the colors were so neat. And yeah, just playing around. This in the back here is like a pearlescent liquid acrylic. And I had just gotten those. I wanted to play with them. This one is neat again with the tissue paper and a stamp over the top of it. And I love that it gives it enough solidity that you can see what's stamped on there, but you can still see what's in the background too. This one I think is probably my absolute favorite. I did these mushrooms in watercolor on, this doesn't feel like watercolor paper. I'm not sure what paper this is. This might be mixed media paper. I don't think I had watercolor paper at that time. But I painted these and then cut them out and pasted them on. And then this, I believe, is stamped, and then I went over it with some metallic pens and bubble wrap in the background, and then these marks. I absolutely love this one. This one's nice too. This is a piece of scrapbook paper that I cut out. And then it did some stamping and then did this kind of lacy sort of pattern. And this edge here, it's a simple, subtle little thing, but it pulls that color over to that side. So it becomes a complete spread. And there are stamps in the background, but that's underneath the paint, so it's real subtle. This one I did a video on. I had some dried seed pods that I found in my backyard, and I used them for inspiration, and I drew them, painted them, and made a spread out of them. It's really neat, especially with such a limited color palette as this one was. It turned out pretty good. I like it. This one is not my favorite. If I had done more with the background, I think it might have been better. I'm not really sure why I drew. I don't particularly like Lily of the Valley, but I think just because it was springtime. And my color palette obviously was all green, so that's how that came about. This I did a video on. I had a hard time with this spread. I started it and then I ended up completely changing this side of it because it just wasn't working out the way I wanted it to. I didn't like it. It was too busy. It turned out all right. The color palette was really hard to work with for me. But, you know, I worked at it and persisted through it, and it turned out halfway decent. I mean, it's not something that I look at and go, ah, that's terrible. It's not terrible. It was a learning experience, that one. This, obviously, we're getting into May. And these are all scrapbook page flowers. I have a video on this spread too. But I like the marks I made in the back were like raindrops, so April showers and May flowers. This one I liked. I wanted to do a landscape, but I wanted to do like an abstract landscape, and I put this little like salt box house in there. I pulled these scrapbook papers over to this side on the border. I think it's kind of neat. This one is super cute. I did a video on this one with the little duckies in the puddle. It's simple, but it's adorable. I really like it. This one too is simple. We're getting into some more landscapey things. And the background is done with alcohol markers. When you do alcohol markers on regular paper, they all, blend together so you don't see the streaks. But because the page was gessoed, it didn't blend, so you get this stripy effect. And honestly, I don't hate it. I think it really adds something. I think it'd be a lot less interesting if it wasn't stripy like that. Because you've got the cattails and the leaves going this way, and then the stripes bring it this way. So it was a happy accident, as Bob Ross would say. This one is, I think, my most popular video. I did some watercolor in the background and a bunch of mark making, and then pasted some things over the top. And I don't know, you guys just really liked it, and it did turn out good. So I'm happy you guys liked it. This one I just wanted to draw, and I was reminded why I don't draw a whole lot. Yeah, this is my front yard. There was a bird perched on the fence, and I had all the irises and the daisies blooming. And it was really pretty, and I tried to draw it, and it didn't turn out nearly as good as real life, but, we do what we can. So, yeah, this is not my favorite. This one I did not have a plan for either. I had these lights from some catalog, and I thought they were pretty cute. I wanted to put them in something. The color palette was right, so I don't know. It's all right. This is basically just a bunch of different things. I did put some glitter around here to make it look a little shinier, but I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason for this one. I just decided to put a bunch of things together to see what happens. That's why it's called Take the Risk. Not entirely sure this risk paid off, but it's an experience. That's what art is. Art's a big experiment. You find out what works and what doesn't, what you like and what you don't. This one I have a video on. It starts with collage, and it's a lot of acrylic paint. And yeah, I like how this one turned out in the end. Getting there was a little bit of a process sometimes, but I do like it. This one was also kind of just, let's see what happens. This background is from a catalog, and I really wanted to keep the sky and the branches in here. I did paint over the bottom part. I think this was a frozen lake, and it had a bunch of trucks parked on it. They were ice fishing or something. So I painted over that. And this bird I took out of a book, and it had the right colors, so I put that on this side to pull those colors over. And this is not one of my most successful spreads, I think. The colors are all there, but I don't know that it's really a cohesive piece at all. There are too many different elements in it, I think. Again, not my favorite. I do like this background. This is from a jelly plate. I really like that a lot. But other than that, meh. Okay, so after I recorded this video, I thought about this spread a lot, and it really bothered me. I did not like it, and I thought, you know what? I can go back and change it. It's never too late to change something you don't like and rework it. So that's what I did. I took the jelly plate paper and I put it over the black on the bottom, which automatically made the whole thing more cohesive and more of a single spread rather than two spreads that are sort of related. And I went over with some stamps and redid some of the leaves, and then I added these bird silhouettes. And it's still not my favorite spread ever, but I think it looks a lot better than it did. Not that the last one was terrible per se, but it just wasn't what I wanted. And this, I think, is a much more cohesive piece. So there you go. It's never too late to change something you don't like. And back to the show. This one I like. I did make a video on this one. This is the first spread where I use a watercolor ground, which is just white gesso with some baking soda in it, and it helps absorb water so that you can use watercolors on it, and the watercolors will absorb rather than just sitting on top of the gesso. So this was my first experiment with the watercolor ground, and it turned out really nice. I like it a lot. You know, I made a bunch of marks in here and then did the cone flowers over the top. So this one I really like a lot. This one, even though it's still July, I did a fall preview just because that's what the colors were. They're very much fall colors, and fall is my favorite time of year, so I thought, oh, I'll just do a little fall spread. I got my acorns and my pumpkin, and I like it. It's got all kinds of little patterns in here. So the more you look at it, the more patterns you see. It's cute. This one actually started out with big sunflowers drawn in the back, but they were kind of a mess and not really what I wanted, so I cut some sunflowers out to put over the top, and it actually looked so much better, and it made the background, you know, really come together. So this one turned out good despite how it started. So this one says, "Where the light is, you can't see the stars without the darkness." So it's got metallics in here. I had gotten some mica powders and I had mixed them with gloss medium and made kind of a metallic paint. So I used that in the water here. The mica powders they're okay. It's really tedious, and I'd much rather just use the Jacquard metallic paints because it's so much faster. But it was interesting to work with mica powders. So my lighthouse is just a piece of scrapbook paper, and I like the night sky in here. It kind of brings twilight in with the sunset. For the light part of the lighthouse, I had a piece of scrap paper that has this metallic gold pattern on it, and then I put a piece of transparency over the top, like glass, so it's pretty shiny. I like the concept of this. I'm not sure I love the execution of it, but again, art journaling is an experiment, and you find out what works and what doesn't work, and what you like and what you don't. This one I've got a video on. It's just a repeating leaf pattern, which is really simple, but I think it turns out really nice. You get a lot of depth to it. This one I also did a video on. This is my gratitude tree with my little tags. Here I've got sleep because I have problems sleeping, so I'm grateful when I get to sleep. I'm grateful for creativity. Grateful for our friends. That includes all of you out there. Family. And nature. I'm inspired a lot by nature, if you hadn't noticed. So this is my gratitude tree. I thought that was super cute. I wanted to do something with you know, not just paint. I wanted a little more interactive play here with my piece, because I had so many pieces in the back that had tags and other things on top that I wanted to bring some of that in here. I couldn't do that too much toward the end because of how thick the journal was getting. But when I start my next journal, I'll have more opportunity to do more tags and things like that. At least at the beginning, until that one gets too thick. This one I did not plan. I didn't know what I was doing, and I figured out that if I plan what I'm doing ahead of time, I have a lot less stress and it tends to turn out better. However, I take fewer risks, and sometimes, you know, when I take these risks, they pay off because I figure out, oh, that's really cool. Oh, I should do this in this other piece. So sometimes you just have to not plan things. This isn't, you know, my favorite thing ever, but I don't hate it, I gotta say. I mean, it's kind of cute. I don't mind it. The color palette was weird, but I made it work. This one was my last video that I posted. I love this one. I definitely am going to do more faces. I don't know, I just really like this. I like the color in the back, and then I love the black and white. And I really think this border pulls the whole thing together. And then we get to the end. Summer of 2023. I used some lace for the waves and did a little sailboat. This one was pretty simple, but I just needed to finish up my journal, and this lets me know when I worked on my journal and when I finished my journal, so that's it. So thank you for coming along with me on my Pocky art journal journey. And I hope this inspires you to create your own art and not be afraid to try new things, not be afraid to fail at things. Because even if you fail, you still win because you learn stuff. And some things you're going to love and some things you're not going to love. But it's all okay. It's all an expression of you. We all have things about ourselves that we love and that we don't love, but it's all us in the end. So, thanks again for coming along, and I will see you in the next video.